G'day. Late last year we decided to do something different with a HSV Maloo and turn it into a GTS Maloo just because we could. Essentially, we'd bought a W427, which was a lovely car, went pretty hard, and that was a yardstick. We wanted all our HSVs in the future to go like a W427 does. We started off ultimately creating a package in our minds that would do the job and exceed the performance of W427. As we walk around the car, you'll be able to see we put GTS wheels and optional HSV 6-pot AP brakes and calipers on the front. We changed the front bar using the GTS escutcheons around the lights, and we've done a paint out centre section of the front bar just like on the GTS. For those that want to do that to their car, the colour is called Stealth Speed, and you'll be able to find it on your PPG Automotive Paints computer. We had a tuning package developed by a good friend of mine, Eddie Tassoni, in WA, using a very small cam, and for those people that are cam orientated and would like to know the numbers, I won't elaborate totally, except the intake duration is less than 220 and the exhaust duration is greater than 220, and the separation of the durations of the intake and exhaust is 6 degrees. The lift is almost 600 and the LSA, or the lobe separation, is 116. So it's a fairly small camshaft developed around making a great amount of torque, a reasonable amount of horsepower, and being very drivable and have a smooth idle. The other interesting thing under the bonnet here is this new device developed by Fonzie Mullen at GM Motorsport in Melbourne. Fonzie's a great guy and come up with a very, very nicely engineered device. It's made out of plastic. Its mounting points are made out of plastic. It fits better than a glove. Its results on the dyno prove to us that he's onto something very good here, and I wouldn't be out without it on this particular combination. The total engine package included a camshaft, an exhaust system, a set of valve springs, a harmonic balancer change, and a customised tune by Eddie Tassoni from Active Automotive in Perth. Whilst Eddie didn't install or have any hand on this car, I commissioned Simon, Mark and Alan from Morepower in Modbury, North and South Australia to execute the entire engine tune package. With that, all Simon needed to do was touch up the tune to cover for the unique exhaust system that we used on this car. The exhaust system itself was a unique scenario where I personally wanted the car to be quiet and drivable, where my sons could go out on a Saturday night without any problem or any grief from any authorities, whether it be the coppers or the RTA. So the car had to be quiet and had to be docile. To do that, when HSV introduced the E2, they introduced an optional bimodal exhaust system with bimodal rear mufflers. In other words, there's a flap in the rear muffler that be actuated to close the rear muffler off in part to quieten the car down. We retained those rear mufflers and installed pacemaker tri-Y instant 3/4 headers and the new pacemaker 2.5-inch mid-pipe with the VTEX exhaust accelerator. The car is quiet, smooth and makes a bag of torque, and that's what we wanted it to make. Before we did the engine tune, we decided we'd dyno 3 cars at Morepower on the same day and get a baseline so we knew what we had to work with. This particular car made 254 kilowatts at the rear wheels. The W427 made 311, and the GTS, with the optional bimodal system that it has, which also has a different mid-pipe from HSV, made 267. After a trip to pacemaker headers, it gained 41 newton metres and 11 kilowatts just from the exhaust with no tuning, and that was an outstanding result, and the car felt really good. The end result, as you can see on this dyno sheet, is 322.8 kilowatts for the ute and 311.3 kilowatts for the 427, and a similar increase in torque, as you can see in the bottom graph here, and that was an excellent result. Then we moved on to chassis development, and that was a hard one. So after a fair bit of research, we tried to find some coilover setup that was going to be soft enough in the car so we retained a reasonable and tidy ride, and that would work and suit us. In the end, the suspension is a nice combination. I've got the ride and the height and the geometry just nice for a good road car. Essentially, the charter for the car was to make as much power and torque as we could to knock off the power and torque figures of a 427 and have it drive like a 427 using a 622 instead of a 7 litre. So it's the original engine, original intake, original throttle body, but with a ramjet, very small Sony cam, standard clutch, standard diff, pacemaker headers, pacemaker Euro 3 cats, and a pacemaker midsection with VTECs. We're in second gear at 2.5, and I'll just lean on it, and we're out of there.